You're listening to the HIT.OR.DIE podcast with hosts Jake Soldati and Chad Rothberg.
Hey everybody, welcome to the HIT.OR.DIE podcast, episode 29. We're here with assistant baseball coach at Fresno State, Ryan Overland. Ryan Overland is from Atascadero, went to Atascadero High School. Then he went to Fresno State, was here all 4 years, has 3 WAC titles, and 2008 national champion. He was the catcher on that team. Served as a grad assistant at South Dakota State, Bulldogs volunteer assistant in spring of 2012, and full-time assistant at Nevada in the fall of 2012 before returning to the Dogs in the spring for 2013 season. Currently the pitching coach, catchers recruiting coordinator, has had 4 catchers drafted since 2014, Taylor Ward, Austin Wins, Trent Garrison, and Trent Woodward. And in 2019 saw Ryan Jensen taken in the first round by the Cubs. Ryan, thanks for joining us on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. You guys have been doing a great job with what you're doing. I've been probably one of your biggest listeners throughout the way, so you guys are doing a great job. I'm honored to be here.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Was there more to that too? I think you had another. Who else was a pitcher? You had a couple pitchers drafted. We left some guys off. Obviously,
Carter Binns drafted.
Yeah, the
last
catcher.
year, the catcher.
Yeah, that's the one I thought. Now, since you're the pitching coach, you still working with the catchers too?
Yeah.
And as you see that a lot now, is the pitching coaches are old catchers, and it's coming more full circle, I think, nowadays. Even in the big leagues, you've seen pitching coaches as catchers. Mm-hmm. And I always thought I was a catcher in high school, but after that, first base. But it's almost like catchers call the pitches, catchers are, doing the thing. I think it's really cool, and it probably has been an easier transition for you.
Yeah, that part definitely helps. Just as a player, as a catcher, you're working with pitchers all the time. You're in their bullpens. If you're doing it right, you're a part of it with them, and I think that's what for me made it easy, making that transition to working with pitchers, and kind of a little different mindset. From what I've talked to a lot of people say that pitchers, when they become pitching coaches, they coach and teach what they did as a pitcher. So as a catcher, I pitched a lot in high school, but never at a high level. So it's kind of from a little more pure angle, I think, that it kind of helps guys. And I've enjoyed it. It's fun.
Yeah, you've done a good job. And last year was your first or second year? Second year. And, it goes to show with what you guys had last year and how good you did.
what was that? How was that conversation like? Because it's new to you, and I'm sure there was conversations of bringing in somebody. Mm-hmm. How'd that work out?
Yeah, I mean the first time Coach Batesel brought it up to me, I kind of wasn't really expecting it, and we were kind of, we were looking for a new assistant and kind of going through different pitching coaches, and he brought up, what if you do it? And at first, kind of took me back, like, whoa, like I'm not the guy for that. And he was like, no, you are, and just the trust and confidence he put in me to be able to do it, meant a lot. And then obviously kind of talking around with some other guys and figuring out how many guys that do it that weren't pitchers and were catchers, or, and it became something I was excited about and have really enjoyed doing.
And then, you talked about, pitching in high school a little bit. Can you take us back to your high school days a little bit and getting into Fresno State and all that?
Yeah. Growing up, I loved baseball. Everything I did was baseball and sports growing up. For me as a high school player, it was just about playing and enjoying the game. I never, where so much of it now is caught up in where you're going to go next and scholarships and drafted and all this stuff. For me, I never really thought about that stuff. It was kind of just enjoyed playing the game. And when high school was over, where's the next best opportunity for me? It was honestly, I was all set to go to Cuesta Junior College till about probably the middle of June after I had graduated. All of a sudden, Coach Curtis showed up at a game. Coach Batesel showed up at a game, and got this great opportunity to come here and be a Bulldog.
That's great. Were you ever Cuesta? So were you a Cal Poly guy growing up?
I was. I had growing up over there, my whole family went to Cal Poly. One of my best friends growing up that I played with, Ryan Price, his dad, Rich Price, was the head coach at Cal Poly from time I was about 10, 11 years old, all the way to junior year of high school. So grew up at games there, hitting in the cages with Ryan, around the Price family, and definitely Cal Poly was where I grew up, and went to, when Fullerton, Stanford, whoever was coming to town, me and my dad were going to every game over there.
Were they ever in the picture for you, or was it just Cuesta? Because I know Cuesta, Cal Poly is really good at going Cuesta to Cal Poly. They like their JUCO guys.
Yeah. No, I didn't really have much conversations with Cal Poly.
So you get to Fresno State. You guys are coming pretty good. You got a good recruiting class coming in. What was it like when you got here? For those guys, you're coming in as a true freshman. How many guys ahead of you? How many get, depth chart wise? Because sometimes it's different. The big time freshman comes in, starts right away. You did play a lot as a freshman. What's that like coming in and having to compete for a job?
Yeah, I mean, for myself coming in, like I said, I signed late, got here late, didn't really know a whole lot of other guys on the team. And at the time when it's college baseball, your first time in Division I baseball, those first couple of days, first couple of weeks, you're really just trying to survive. And for me, it was enjoyment, get to come to practice every day and lift, and we're talking baseball all the time. And for me, it was fun. I just remember looking around a couple of times and being in the locker room being like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. And then on the field, probably the reason why I got the opportunity to come here was because a couple of things that happened with some catchers before, and we were pretty light at that position. So it was really me and two other guys kind of fighting it out, and got the opportunity to play quite a bit that year.
How was it like with the practice schedule? Obviously, it's different than high school. Like, the weightlifting's different. Everything's different. How did you adapt to that stuff? I mean, as all the freshmen did, but I'm sure it's a little tougher. Was there anybody that kind of like
took you under their wing?
Took you and said, "Hey, man, this is this is how we're gonna do it," or do it after hours, or just do little things to help you get better?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to play with a lot of great teammates. Kent Sakamoto, one of my best friends to this day, was a junior on that team, and Doug Pfister was a junior. Matt Garza, a lot of older guys that really know how to do things and work. But I mean, going through it the first time as a freshman, I remember having no problem falling asleep at night. From you wake up, go to class in the morning, straight to practice, straight to lift, study hall for a couple hours, and then you're done. So, but I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was fun for me to do all those things.
Now you got to play with one of our good friends. Well, two of them, Lappin and Underwood, and Underwood's always talked highly of you as a catcher, and he loved pitching to you. Do you have any funny stories with either one or together, or we just want to kind of?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, just get those two guys together and just listen to them go. No, they were great teammates. Loved playing with both of them. Woody had a locker next to me, so he'd come in every day and wonder when practice was going to be over so we could get on to the rest of the stuff. But I mean, I don't think I ever caught anybody where 3 pitches, put down the sign and put your glove up and close your eyes, the ball's going in your glove, where he's hitting the spot. He was a phenomenal competitor. 3 pitches, command him both sides of the plate whenever he wanted, and he could really pitch. He was fun.
Describe his mentality, because I don't think our team, they don't ever believe me when I tell them like this.
How much of a competitor?
Like, you've never seen a more pissed off guy on a mound than Coach, and they just don't believe me when I say it.
For being as even keeled and on the same path as he is, he was a competitor, and it was him versus that guy in the box, and nobody was going to get in that box and get in his way.
Yeah, he turns into a different person.
I know everything he does.
Yeah, facing him in high school, I mean, that curveball was disgusting. People don't understand how disgusting his curveball was, and like you said, he could throw it 3-2,
Anytime.
3-0, whatever. But Lappin and Underwood, we talked about this before a little bit. They argued that Andy didn't close very much, or Andy said he came in on Friday nights sometimes and closed. You had a pretty good story about it if you want to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, for Woody, I mean, he started on Sundays. We had a great rotation: Pfister on Friday, Eddie Romero on Saturday, and Woody on Sunday. So a lot of times, Coach Bates will want to finish the game with Woody on Friday, and Woody would be moving at Woody's pace, and so there's a couple times where maybe he went down to warm up and somebody else ended up in the game ahead of him. But yeah, like I said, for as even keeled as Woody is, tremendous competitor, and it's no matter what you do with those guys. I've played a lot of basketball with those guys. You could probably play any sport, and they're going to want to rip your head off doing it. So.
Oh yeah, they try to rip your head off doing anything, not even just competitive.
Tell them your
period.
opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now let's get into 2008. I mean, national championship team, dogs against the world, pretty much. You know, something you guys will probably never happen again. There's just no way. I mean, I guess there's a chance, but in reality, what you guys did was almost impossible. Being a 4 seed in every elimination game possible, even when you got to the World Series, and winning a national championship. So if you could just take us a little bit through that
and the WAC tournament. You guys had to win the WAC tournament just to get in.
Right. Yeah, to get in. I mean, it's just an incredible run that we had there, and it really it starts back with that 06 team, really, that we were just talking about there. I tell people all the time that team was way better than the 08 team. That team didn't lose a game in March, didn't lose a game in May. 2 months of the season, didn't lose a game. I think there was like a 13-game win streak, a 15-game win streak in there. And that team with those 3 guys starting, that lineup was unreal. And that team ended up being a 2 seed in the Fullerton regional. We went to that regional without Vitters, without Bo Mills, who's probably the best hitters to come out of this area. Went to that regional without those 2 guys, and that was 30 home runs, 120 RBIs, not in that lineup. And ran into a great Fullerton team there. And then 07, almost same regional, Fullerton, USD down in San Diego. So kind of when it came to 08, it was like, Fullerton's not here, we're good. But that team just, those years building up definitely prepared us for that get into that regional at Long Beach and USD and Cal. We were ready for that, and it didn't matter who we were playing, and we were able to beat Long Beach that first game and put ourselves in a good position, and got to play USD, who had played in the postseason the years before, and just felt confident and we could do that. From there, the toughest thing of the whole run was the Arizona State.
They're the number 1 team in the country, weren't they?
I think number 3. I think
were they
were
3?
They'd only lost like 2 games at home all year.
But they had the top 2. I mean, their top 2 were
Davis and Wallace.
Mike Davis and Brett Wallace, and they had Mike Leake, Jason Kipnis.
Kipnis was on that team.
I think they had 15 guys drafted that year. And if you look at roster, most teams don't have 15 draft eligible players, let alone have 15 guys drafted. And I just remember getting there, watching them take BP that first day, and their field day, there was a huge net in right field, and there was a busy street back there, and there was just ball after ball after ball going over this net. And I remember looking at one of the guys going, they're going to run out of ball. Like, they must go through 100 balls every day over this fence. But they got us pretty good that first game, and the second game there, they were up like 5-3 in the 4th or 5th, and Hedstrom, 2 out, 2 strike grand slam that put us ahead, and it was kind of like, hey, we're winning, we're ahead, and we were able to hold on to that lead. And one of the biggest things I remember going to that third game was Coach Batesel brought everybody up and said, we're a game away from going to the World Series. Beat them yesterday, let's beat them again. And we went out there and did. I think, that team, like I said, going through what we'd gone through before, that those games, it wasn't too much. It was just having fun and playing the game where, truly it's kind of cliche, but all the pressure was on them. They were the team that top 3 ranking.
To win.
Yeah, it was them losing was going to mean way more to them than us losing, and it happened.
That was the one that I think Sestor kind of slid and left to end the game.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, was there? Was there an opportunity for them to tie it? Or?
That was the tying or go ahead run, and I think it might have been the winning run at the plate, and the guy had already hit 2 home runs in the game.
And sealed.
Was there something? There was a video. Was there something you guys did, or did they do something like before the game?
They had the fake fight.
Yeah. It was Wallace and Davis, right?
Wallace and Davis. Yep. And so the first part about that was, I remember we got to the field that day, and it was ESPN was covering had the coverage, and so the camera, it was usually the guys running the cameras aren't out there till like game time, and the guy at the end of our dugout kind of came in the dugout and was like, "Hey, do you guys know what's going on?" And we were like, "For what?" And he said, "I don't know. They just told us to be out here and have the cameras running early." So we were kind of like, "That's weird." And then I remember they took in and out first. So then we're out in right field playing catch, and I remember just hearing them yelling. They're yelling just all, and it's kind of like, what's going on? Like, you can't help but look over, you know, and they're taking, infield's perfect. Nobody's dropping the ball. Nobody's overthrowing it, but it's, let's go, pick it up. Like, and they're just yelling at each other, and we're kind of just standing there like, what are they doing? And then it got to the end, and two guys ran at each other, and we kind of sit there laughing, like, what are they doing, you know? And it, where I think they probably thought it was something that was going to
intimidate you a little bit.
Yeah, and really it just made us relaxed and was like, oh, I guess they're worried about us, I guess. But yeah, that was that was.
It was almost like it was just a joke, right?
And then another thing that was, I remember a guy in the stands came down. And he was like, "Oh yeah, they did that in 05 against like East Carolina or somebody." So like it was kind of like, it was all these signs that like it was like, okay, this is.
Was Murphy the coach then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, that team was unbelievable. That was one of the most talented college baseball teams I've ever seen.
What was that trip home like? From Arizona State?
Arizona State.
Probably doesn't remember it.
I wasn't going to go there with it.
Next question. What was the trip like to Omaha?
Yeah, no, the biggest thing I remember, we flew back the next day, and I remember everybody was, YouTube and that stuff wasn't as big then, but it was still there. And I just remember guys were just pulling up videos of College World Series, and they were playing there. It's kind of one of the biggest things I remember that night.
And so how long you guys come home, and how long do you remember how long you were here before you had to turn around
the next week?
Yeah,
but you get there a couple days early, but it started the next weekend.
Yeah. I think we played, the Super Regional ended on Monday. First game at Omaha was that Saturday. We probably got out there Tuesday or Wednesday, I think.
Pretty quick turnaround. That's crazy. And so when you guys get there, like, at that point, do you really feel like, hey, the pressure's really, we're here, like, we really have nothing to lose?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just get there, and Rosenblatt is, I mean, it's watching every game on TV as a kid, and it's like you're there, you know, and get to go, you practice there ahead of time, take BP. I remember our first BP there, the wind was blowing like 35 miles an hour out to right field. So me and Mendonça and Rivera, we're just launching balls up to the seats out there. I mean, you hardly ever get to take BP where you're hitting balls into seats. You know, I just remember it just being, it was just fun. You know, it was just, this is what baseball's about. This is what you've been playing your whole life for, to play in this type of place. And those memories I'll always have.
Just being a kid again.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah. And, you know, you're out in BP and there's kids in the stands, you know, getting balls and all that stuff. It's fun.
I think your first game was it Rice?
Rice.
You just put like 17 or 19 or something like that.
Yeah, that was wild, especially because, I mean, for some of us that were seniors, Rice was still in the league with us our freshman year. And, you know, they were the elite of the WAC that time that won the league a bunch. So kind of getting to play them that first game and score a bunch of runs. And that's what I think that was what really made us relax once we got there. We scored a bunch of runs. We won the first game. It was not only do we belong here, we can win here. You know, so that first game, that was fun.
And then you grind. What moment, can you pick out a moment that it was like, I guess it would have to be in the championship series against Georgia, where it was just like this.
Well, even you guys, and you had to beat North Carolina twice, right?
They had to beat us twice.
Or they had to beat you twice.
We beat them, and then, yeah.
They beat you that first game, and then the next night you had winner take all for the series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, what are those locker rooms like? Like, what's those moments like?
And you had a lot of
everybody
senior leadership, like you were talking about. So.
Yeah.
Where's everybody just so not even so focused, or are they not? I mean, like, how is it? Are they that relaxed, or are they that like laser beamed?
Yeah, I mean, like Chad said, we had such an older team, so many seniors and juniors, and we had been through so much that everybody knew what they were supposed to do and their role and their part. There was no kind of, so the uncertainty wasn't really there. You know, I think even when we lost the game to North Carolina, I remember we were winning 3-2, I think maybe in like the 8th, and they hit a 2-run home run, supposed ahead, and I remember just kind of being like, we had them beat. You know, we were right there, play or two away. Let's go at it again tomorrow. And that team didn't get too high or too low. It was just we were just playing the game. It just happened to be at Rosenblatt on TV in the World Series,
right.
Wherever. And
that's what everybody else was looking at.
And especially like North Carolina, they think they'd lost the finals the 2 years before, so kind of back to the Arizona State thing. I think there was just so much they couldn't lose, It was like, man, we're right here again. We can't lose this for us. It was like we were playing with house money,
Yeah, and Georgia, I mean, were they the 2 or what seed were they? They were pretty. They were up there.
Yeah, they were.
But I mean, Gordon Beckman was one of the best players. I think he was a Golden Spikes finalist or whatever. They took game 1, right? Or you took game 1?
Yeah, no, they won the first game. The same thing that we had them beat in that game too, and that was. I remember because we had a little bit of rain. A couple of games got pushed back, and so I remember going to that game. We really didn't have any pitching lined up, and we went into that with a lot of our kind of bottom. Middle relievers, and we kind of got through those first couple innings with those guys. And I think we gave up like 4 or 5 in the 8th to lose. And so it's kind of that same type of feeling like, hey, we had these guys, we were winning. We can go get them the next 2 days.
So you get them game 2.
That was a crazy game too.
Yeah, I know. The whole series was crazy. And then I remember I was in St. Louis watching it on our little TV in the Indy Ball locker room. But going to game 3, who hit was it
Detweiler
hit
2?
Yeah. I mean, and then the last out. I mean, just national. it's.
Well, and
crazy.
Wilson was back on like 2 days rest.
Yeah, 3 days rest and just dealt. Absolutely.
He went like 8 innings.
And he was another junior that you were talking about, or was he? He was a junior.
Junior,
yeah. And I mean, that's just leadership taking. You tell guys you got some balls. He had some balls and put the team on his back, and but that's what leadership's supposed to do for a team, and it proved to be, what you guys needed was that and the leadership, and but just that feeling. I mean, thinking back, because it just popped back in your head, like that feeling of that last out.
Just the competitor J-Dub is to be able to do that last day on short rest, last game of the year for a national championship. And I remember going into it thinking like, all right, hopefully he can give us 3. If J-Dub can maybe 3, maybe 4, and then we'll kind of piece it together. And I remember he dealt through the 3rd, dealt through the 4th, through the 5th, through the 6th, and all the way. I think Beckham got him a home run in like the 8th.
Yeah.
Was the only run he gave up. And
what were those conversations like in between innings with like Bates, and like what was the talks? Like, just I'm good, just let me go.
Yeah, I don't think there were many.
Yeah.
I think the talks,
when you're rolling,
when the arm falls off, didn't come get me.
I think the talks were the way he was, mowing through their lineup. But that's the competitor J-Dub is still pitching. He was never afraid of anything. Even coming into college as a freshman, he knew he belonged. He knew he was good, and that's why he's still playing. I mean, obviously he's got a great arm, but the competitor he is and he's always had has been special from day one.
Well, that's great. The national championship, I mean, it's a beautiful ballpark here now. I haven't been here in a while, but just that on the backside, driving down Cedar, it's just something to be proud of as a Fresno born and raised.
And then just like the way that, it seemed like Omaha, the people there embraced you guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they embrace the underdog a lot.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, you were insane. I was working up in Northern California, and I was like, man, we cut out of work early, just to go back to our hotel room to watch the game. And it was a big deal. Can you talk about even when you got home and just how?
Yeah, I mean, probably one of the coolest parts for me to this day is hearing things like that people still, they know where they were watching those games and talking about leaving work early or they had to get home to watch the games. Because for us, we're out there just playing the games, and it was kind of like the more we won, the more people would kind of be like, man, you wouldn't believe the people at Doghouse watching the game, or World Sports Cafe at the time, and those places. And for us, we're just playing the game, but you kind of, and like I said, social media wasn't really what it was then, so we didn't really get to see that stuff back here. But just over the years to be able to talk to people and what that meant to them, and then watching the games and what it meant to this community, it's definitely one of the lasting impressions for me.
He has been dominated by lefties for most of the night, now facing a right-hander in this situation. Line to right, Detweiler has got it! Cinderella wins a national championship!
We talked. You after the 08 year, I saw you didn't get drafted. I don't know how. I mean, nowadays a catcher bats 291. I mean, you go in the top 10 rounds, but it's a little different back then. But you got right into coaching. Mm-hmm. You know, was that something that you knew if I wasn't going to play, I wanted to get into coaching right away?
I wouldn't say it's something I knew. It kind of was in the back of my mind. Growing up, my dad was a high school baseball coach, and teaching and coaching, I kind of always in the back of my mind thought it might be something I wanted to do. But really that senior year I was graduating that year, was kind of just playing the year and then figuring out where it would go from there. Didn't know the season wouldn't end until July, into the summer. But really then a couple weeks went by, kind of talking to a couple people here and there, you know, maybe to help coach there, get into this, and got a call out of the blue one day from Richie Price, who I mentioned grew up. His brother Ryan was one of my best friends, and he had just got hired as the head coach of South Dakota State. He said, "Hey, do you want to come coach with me?" And I was kind of like, South Dakota, like you can't play baseball there, right? But like, I mean, I'd known Matt Bowman, who we talked about earlier from Madera. I know he played there, so there was a little familiarity with the program a little bit, and it was kind of like, yeah, let's do it. And ended up being an amazing opportunity to be able to get into Division I baseball right away as an assistant coach. Both at the time they didn't have full-time assistant positions there. Both assistants were graduate assistant positions. So, and the crazy part about that was Richie at the time was 23 years old, Division I head coach. I was 22 years old, and our pitching coach, Jake Angier, who's now at Oregon, was 23 years old. So we had a Division I coaching staff of 22 23-year-olds and a 22-year-old.
Could have been fifth-year seniors.
I think there was 4 guys on the team that were fifth-year seniors that were my age that year. You know, but just that opportunity to at that place. The first year we were there, we really struggled at the beginning of the year. You're obviously playing all road games, busing to Washington State, down to Texas, 20-hour bus rides. But we had some really tough kids, and some kids that I would take coaching them every day for the rest of my career. Coaching a lot of kids from Canada, just from that area that were tough, that, you know, they didn't have anything, they weren't given anything, they just went and played. They never complained about anything. In that second year I was there, we had a really good team. Ended up Euro Roberts in the league there, who, you guys won like 15 championships in a row, something like that. In 2010, we actually tied them for the league regular season, and they got us in the conference tournament there. But yeah, that was I'll always cherish those memories there with those guys.
And then you come back and volunteer here in, was it 2012?
Yeah, 11 and 12.
And then the fall of 12, it's in Nevada, and then back here in the spring of 13. And, you know, we kind of talked about it a little bit before, but Bates calls you up Thanksgiving time, and and like, where you just, you know, you kind of just made a commitment to Nevada, and was there any doubt whether to take it, or it's like, we're going?
No, absolutely. I mean, I'll never forget when he called me. I think it was like the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I had just Coach Powers had hired me in about late August, early September, so it had only been 3 months. It was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and Bates calls, and he's like, "You ready to come home?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna go see my family, go to my grandpa's for Thanksgiving." He's like, "No, you're ready to come home." And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna go see my family. Like, I mean, I'm good here, but like, no." And he's like, "No, you're ready to come home back here, ready to hire you." And I was like, "What?" Like, well, no, I just got here. I can't do that. But, you know, after thinking about it, and Coach Powers was amazing about it. That was really the toughest part for me was, you know, hey, you just hired me and now I'm leaving. But he supported me and was like, "No, this is an opportunity you got to take and got to do." And I'm definitely thankful to him for that.
You've been here ever since. And like we talked about, you originally catchers, worked with hitters, recruiting coordinator. I kind of want to get into, and you might have done it at South Dakota State, but that's got to be going from straight to college to coaching. But now you're not just coaching, you have to recruit. So you got to go out on the road. You got to, you know, you're looking for a type of player that fits your program. You know, that's another thing, because not all types of players fit different programs. So a lot of the guys you get at Fresno State probably wouldn't fit the South Dakota, the mold there. So going to that, just learning how to, be a recruiting coordinator. Because I talked to Pat Ware, and when he was here, he had Matt Curtis to kind of walk him through it and get him through it. But then when you got here, there wasn't really, you kind of had to go on your own and learn.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely kind of learn on the fly a little bit. Just kind of going to games and talking to as many coaches as you can. And, one of the best, you nailed it on the head, the fit for the program. I tell people all the time that finding good players is the easy part. That's easy. You can go to any field, any tournament, any game and go, oh, that guy's good, right? But what are his grades like? What does he work? Does he work? What's he going to be like in 3 years? How does he fit our program? How does he fit guys that have been successful in our program in the past? Or, because like you said, the guy that for Fresno State maybe isn't the guy for the next place. So it's that part. It's going deeper into it, not just going, oh, hey, that guy throws hard, let's give him a scholarship. It's, well, there's a lot deeper into it. And that's the part that that definitely you learn, and a little trial and error sometimes. But yeah, that's the biggest part to me, is finding the right fit.
And that seems to be the MO from every coach that we hear, is the fit. And
especially for the kids in high school, a lot of times why would you know any better when you're 16, 17 years old? For all you know, some coach at some college called me and he's telling me how great I am and he wants me to be in this program, and it's so easy to get caught up in that. And for kids trying to find, it's a big decision figuring out what school you're going to go to. And once you get past the initial, wow, they made me a scholarship offer, wow, they want me in their program, well, eventually you're going to be in that program and on that field and with those coaches and with those players and in that city or town or state even. And that changes real quick from maybe you go on a visit in the summer or the fall and, hey, wow, this place is great. It's 80 degrees. There's all these people at a football game, or this looks cool. But then when you actually get in it on the field, it's not always what you thought it was. So, and same thing for not only us trying to figure that out. Hopefully the kids and the players are trying to figure that out too. Not just who's the first and they're the coolest on social media or the coolest uniforms, but where can I actually be the best player I can be? Because to me, that's so many other things we get caught up in. Am I going to get drafted? Am I going to get a scholarship? Am I going to get those things? Well, even when you get that, that's just only the step. You got to keep getting better and improving your game, because if you're not, somebody else is, as you guys know.
Well, and all that stuff requires playing. It requires practice.
Getting better.
You know what I mean? The scholarship doesn't come without the effort you're putting on the field, and getting drafted doesn't come out, just because you're just not entitled to get drafted.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember what I was trying to think about. Once you, like you're saying, you get that scholarship offer, or you have interest in schools, as a player, you should probably go study that school. Look up, what do you want to major in? Do they have that major? Is that something that's really good that I can go graduate in? And, the coaching staff, is the pitching coach the one I want to be with? Or, there's so many factors, and it's nothing personal. It's just like fit. But you have to, it's not just, I'm a Fresno State kid, I want to go to Fresno State. Is it the right fit for you? That's just the way it is. And I feel like that is missed a lot. Like you're saying, it's already hard enough to recruit a guy. You're recruiting a guy, and when he says yes, you're thinking they think they're the right fit. But then when they get here and they're on the field, they're in the weight room, the classroom, it just sometimes it doesn't work out. And that's not just here. That's everywhere, when you go to Division I. But I think that's something that kids have to realize and be like, look, I'm going here. I'm devoting my 3 to 4 years, whatever it is, to this, school, because like we've heard from multiple Fresno State guys, Batesall's big on academics. So if you're not going to take care of the classroom, then you might as well just stop your signing right then and there, and that's big.
Yeah, and that's a piece that, when Coach Batesall meets with every recruit and his parents, he spends most of the time talking about academics because it's that important. And countless times guys get here and we got to say, hey, we weren't kidding about that. That wasn't just something we said. That's something that's real. And, for us, that academic piece with Coach Batesel, that's going to be one of his, biggest legacies is how, what guys did when they left here, not just on the field, but in their careers and jobs and husbands, and so that part's real. That's part of this program. It's not, if you want to come to Fresno State, it's not, I'm going to go work out and play baseball and look at the end of the semester if I pass enough classes. You're going to be ahead and do well here. And if that's not what you want to do, there's hundreds and thousands of other places to go play baseball. But that's the guys we have here, they're going to do that.
Yeah, and even we're fortunate enough walking in today, Batesall was here. And he even shared a story with us. He sat guys that are Friday, Saturday, guys that are dudes because their grades aren't where it's at. So, parents or whoever out there listening, if you are, take that shit serious, man. It's not a joke.
That's what he said. He's like, we're losing games.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't figure it out in the classroom.
Yeah. And that takes a lot from a coach to be like, I'm willing to lose games.
In a results-based industry, like college sports, that is
his
big.
Job's pretty much on wins and losses, and he's willing to take losses for a kid to better his future, per se. And
I'd hope not. I think the product that he's put out in professional game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then to your point with, his legacy and the kids graduating, like that's a perfect recruiting tool. Look how many kids are graduating here versus another school.
Yeah.
That's huge.
You're graduating, plus you're having the best opportunity to get drafted, plus you're getting developed. That's something that's missed out at a lot of colleges now. So you're getting development, you're getting the work ethic. Because let's be honest, Batesall's not the easiest coach, right? Yeah. He's tough for a reason, and he's known that way. But the product that he puts out and that graduates and plays.
We've talked about numbers don't lie.
Exactly.
And the numbers don't lie. I don't know, maybe to those kids that want to leave, local kids, my question would be, well, why? Just tell me why you want to go somewhere else.
I was actually, in my stories, I know we've said it a bunch of times, but I didn't want anything else than Fresno State. That was my only option. But it didn't work out for me. That's just how it is. So I had to go somewhere else, and I had a good career. But, I was that kid. I would give anything to have gone to Fresno State and wear that Bulldog uniform and the tradition. That's what a lot of kids, they lose sight of the tradition of the entire program from Biden to Batesall.
Yeah.
Is that weird? They're all B's. Biden, Batesall. I didn't even realize that until right now. But yeah, the tradition is so rich, like a USC, Fullerton, and like we talked about, Fullerton and Fresno State were almost identical programs for so many years, and Texas and stuff. So it's like being a local kid. I mean, a lot of these kids don't want to leave mommy and daddy anyway, so you might as well,
But is that a cop out? To counterpoint that, though, there is kids that want to leave. Yeah. And how's that?
Well, I think the part that you nailed was the why. Is it just because I saw so-and-so school on the internet and that looked cool, or is there an actual reason why? Because for some kids, it is like Chad, and for a lot of local kids, they would come into games here, they'd love to be a Bulldog and everything about it, and we've got a lot of guys that's really successful doing that. For some kids, it is a reason they want to go somewhere else and get out, and sometimes that is the best, sometimes it's not. But I think just as long as you've looked into it, there's a reason to why, not just kind of just because I don't know.
They have cooler gear, they get more stuff.
And I hate the fact that it's like, well, it's the SEC, it's the Pac-12, because like we've talked about, numbers don't lie. You're going to be at a Mountain West championship, fight for one every year. You're going to graduate, and you're going to get a great opportunity to play professional baseball.
They had 8 or 9 guys get drafted last year.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's usually not the kid that says that, the SEC, Pac-12, it's a lot of the coaches. It's a lot of the coaches that kind of want to put their stamp on, oh, well, I coached a guy that went to an SEC school. So kind of usually it's the kids getting it kind of from somewhere, and
or travel ball coaches. You don't have to say it. We'll say it for you on this show.
Yeah, but that's
No, I get it. And
No, it's true though.
It is
Yeah,
true.
but for us, I mean, we want to keep the best local players here. The guys I've played with and coached that are from here, getting the opportunity to be here and play in front of your family and your friends and play with guys you've grown up playing with. Guys from Clovis and Buchanan that grew up. It's funny to me, these guys, how much Clovis and Buchanan don't like each other. I'm always like, you guys live right down the street from each other. You're the same. But they've battled together or against each other in high school. Now they get to share the field here. And, our team last year, that was really special to have Tatum and Ashford, Aruda, Fresno, half of our lineup being local guys here. And that's
Clovis Buchanan guys.
Yeah. We want
had to learn to like each other.
Yeah, I mean, so that's definitely our number one priority is keep the best players here. But at the same time, we understand it's not for everybody, and for sometimes guys do need to go somewhere else, or for one reason or another. But keeping the local guys here, it's special, man. It's special for those guys.
Now let's get into, you played for Coach Basall. Now you're coaching with Coach Basall.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there's two sides of him that you get to see and be around as a player and a coach. What are they like, both of them? Go through being as a player and now as a coach.
It's a tricky one because you are still employed.
Yeah, I mean, it's more so it's the same type of things. Coaching as a player, you just see it from a completely different angle. And as a player, you're pushed so much, and every drill, every swing, everything you do, it's like my life is depending on this, and it's intense. As a coach, you've kind of, whatever it is for that day, you've already thought about it. You kind of already know the feeling of the day and where everything's at. As a player, sometimes you show up thinking it's just another day, but it's going to be a super intense day. As a coach, you kind of already see it coming a little bit. And I just remember my first couple of years coaching, just a lot of things would come up and go, oh, that's why Coach Batesall does this. So that's why Curdy always said that. Like, okay, I see it from another side. So that part's been cool for me to having played for him and now coached with him for coming up on 10 years now, which is crazy.
It's flying by.
Yeah.
So when coaches say, wait till you leave, you'll come back and say, now I know what you're talking about. It's a true statement.
Yeah.
I mean, we say it to our kids. And,
Well, there's a process to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've come countless guys that I played with that didn't work here at the time that Coach Batesall's the worst coach in the world. He did this, he did that, and then you see him 5 years later, and they're like, "Man, I was an idiot at the time. If I would have just done what he said, if I would have just gone to class, if I would have just worked hard, and that happens sometimes. A lot of times you see it after the fact. So we try to, help these guys in the moment and help them that it's not that bad. Just kind of stay focused. Yeah, exactly. That's
at the end of the day, you'll be better for it.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think, a lot of these high school kids, they're practicing for 2.5 hours a day, right? They're going to school. It's not much. When you go to college, whether it be junior college, Division II, NAIA, D1, but more so at the D1 level, it's a job now. But we're still playing it because we love it, right? First of all, you go because you love the game and you want to play it. But you have to devote every single second to your baseball and academics. A lot of people, they would think going to college, you're going to have fun and go do this and that and this, which you get to, but don't get me wrong, you still got to take care of business, which is lifting, practice, school. But what's you have study hall. Yeah. I forget that because I hated study hall, but you have to do it. Those are things you have to do. And you have to take care of business if you want to have fun, but you're going to have fun doing that. That's the thing. You're going to have the best time of your life.
Yeah. It's getting your priorities in order. And what do you what kind of player do you want to be?
Yeah.
You can be an average student and you're going to be an average player.
And that's what Batesall is, that type of coach, and the coaching staff you guys have here is, look, we're not going to put up with your shit. If you want to be here, then you better prove you want to be here by, busting your ass in every aspect of this, school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of guys get caught, one, coming from high school to college, at least in our program, is the importance of every day. A lot of times in high school, you go out, have a practice with a BP, it's not quite as, you're kind of just going through it. Where for us, especially in our program, every day matters and every drill matters. So a lot of times guys, maybe they go take their ground balls and I'm just getting my ground balls in, and all of a sudden it's not going to the to the level of intensity it should be, and it's kind of like, whoa, hey, I thought we were just kind of taking ground balls. I think that's kind of the part that's a big jump for kids, and then just they want to fight having to do that stuff. They want to fight, oh man, I have to go to study hall. But in reality, look back in 5-10 years and go, man, that was easy. Like, now I got a job, now I got kid. Like, that's
right.
the hard part, and hopefully that's what we're preparing guys for is, that just, I tell our guys all the time, if you got something to do, just focus on that and move on to the next thing, especially now, because it's way too easy to get distracted for kids now of just, I get caught in my phone, or I looked at this video, and then I went and talked to this person, and all of a sudden I've put off this paper I got to do, put off 2 hours by doing other stuff. So, it's a transition, but hopefully, we're preparing guys for life after baseball. That's really what it's about.
Talking about just thought we were just taking ground balls. My dad used to tell me, you do that on your own time. We're working, you're working. You want to take ground balls, you do that on your own. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, getting into too much too. Like, Chad, we've talked, there might be a little too much. It's like everywhere you go, there's a hitting something, a pitching something.
Right. In my opinion, I think everybody feels like they can just find the fix, find the secret. Oh, if I go to this hitting coach, then I'll figure it out, or I'll go to, this guy will give me the thing. When really, it's you got to work. You know what I mean? And you can find hitting coaches, you can find whatever type of coach you're looking for. But at the end of the day, if you're not working, you're not getting better. And nobody's good enough in this game just to say, oh, hey, move your hands here. Now all of a sudden you're in the big leagues, right? And so that's where there are things where guys need help and you're going to get better, but you got to work and you got to do it on your own time. And spending an hour with your hitting coach twice a week isn't going to get you better. You got to figure out time on your own. And, I've never been around a good hitter that doesn't love to hit. I've never been around a good hitter that was like, we got to go take swings today.
Let me go drag out the garage.
Hitters love to hit, and one good example I tell our players a lot is I've never seen anybody work harder than Aaron Judge. And that's way easy to look at him on TV and see his body and athleticism. And, of course that guy's in the big leagues. Of course he's doing well. But he was the last guy to leave the weight room every day here. I don't know how many times I came in the locker room to lock up and there's still a chair and his stuff in front of his locker and Judge is down in the cage is still hitting. It's not an accident how good he is and how much he's worked. And that's one of the best athletes on the planet. And he's worked to get there to do that. And for me, I think it's easy for people to look at guys on TV and go, of course they're there. They're big leaguers, but very few of them did their athleticism and their just natural ability get them there. They work to get there.
Yeah, for sure.
And they still are.
Yeah.
You'll still probably go to Yankee Stadium and Judge will be, one of the first to be there and one of the last to get there. And that's why they are superstars. And Trout probably does the same thing. But that's what it takes to get to that level. Because like we talked about, Judge wasn't a superstar when he got drafted. He was good here at Fresno State. He was definitely had obviously projectability was unbelievable.
Right.
But he didn't have the easiest time in the minors. And then when he got there, he, like you said, he had to work to get to where he's at today. And even though he's a superstar now, he doesn't let that whatever he keeps in his notes, that batting average from his first year, he still reminds himself of what he
and he's in New York. He's doing it in
probably the hardest place in for media wise.
Yeah, no, he's still on a mission to prove he wants to be the best, and that's like going back to the high school kids and kind of where they should, like I said, so many kids get caught up in just getting the offer or getting recruited, but it's bigger than that. It's about being the best player you can be. Nobody looks back at people 10 years after they played and said, oh, well, you got 2 scholarship offers your sophomore year of high school. It's what did you do as a player? And so many times, the focus can get caught up in that stuff instead of just there's always somebody better than you, no matter who it is.
Going back to Judge, we talked too, like, just the kind of guy he is. It's, you were talking before how genuine it is, and he's the real deal. It's not a put on for anybody.
Talk about competitors, man. He wants to win, and that's why you see him playing the defense he does and catching balls in the outfield and throwing runners out. He's playing right field to win, and at that level and that superstarness, that's easy to go stand out there and hold a position until my at bats come up, and he's out there to win. And in my opinion, that's why the Yankees have been where they've been the last couple of years. I know they haven't quite got as far as they want, but his competitiveness and his will to win it's real.
And then you've had, you got Jordan Brink, who had a, cool story over the summer. Luplo with the Indians had a great year.
Yeah. Coaching Judge and Luplo in the outfield together, that's you didn't realize it at the time, but man, looking back, those guys were fun because of their competitiveness, because of the way they worked, and it's looking back on it, there's a reason why they're having the success they have at that level.
Yeah, they're probably the guys that you didn't even. They knew they were gonna get their work in. You didn't have to get on them. Or,
you didn't micromanage those guys.
Oh, and are they gonna show up today, or is Luplo focused today? Does Luplo? No,
It almost makes it easy as a coach too. Like these guys they'll keep it under control. They're gonna keep these guys.
Yeah, no, those guys they rise the bar for other people. You had to be on their level. And Jordan, his junior year was pretty special here, man. He went on about a 6-week stretch where if he got out, it was because he lined out. And that was 6 weeks straight of if he got out, he got himself out, and it was pretty special.
To see those guys and Austin Wins and Taylor Ward should be in the big leagues. Hopefully this year they can figure it out over there. But what's that like? As a coach, and representing your program and even the Valley, because they do represent fans of this program too.
Yeah, no, I love seeing those guys doing what they're doing at the level they're at. Try to catch as many at bats as I can, and just for the program. I think that 2 years ago, at one time, there was 8 guys in the big leagues at one time, and it's fun to watch them doing that and doing it at that level, and especially because you see, like I said about Judge, I see Judge and I see the guy that was the last guy here hitting every day, the guy that was in the weight room every day. I see Austin Wins catching a big league pitcher like his life depends on it because I watched him do it in bullpens here, so it's fun to see that side seeing it from that side with those guys there.
Well, let's get back into your pitching coach. Can you go through some of the stuff you do with your pitchers, maybe like some arm care or like your bullpen sessions or flat grounds, something that could maybe help these guys out there, what they should be doing or how they take their catch, something like that. What do you guys harp on here as pitchers?
Yeah, overall, they're doing all the arm care stuff, their bands and some of the lighter med ball throws. I think it kind of starts with their athleticism. We try to recruit athletic pitchers, so that can carry into pitching and the work they do with the foundation of their body and the weight room and their conditioning and stuff like that. And then as far as on the mound that they're throwing, for me, I try to keep guys the natural thrower that they are. I don't really want to ever see a guy at one arm slot and say, oh, if you raised your arm 4 inches over here and threw from this slot, I want you to be the thrower you are. And then really from there, a lot of the main stuff we do is getting on the mound and competing, attacking the strike zone. There definitely is a level of a lot of the high school pitchers now. A lot of what they do, they pitch to get recruited. They pitch to a radar gun. They pitched for an inning or two at a showcase. Not very many guys do you see going out and throwing 7 innings to win a game and pitching to win. So that kind of part, it begins with trying to find guys that can do that. That are obviously you want the best athletes and the best arms you can, but finding the guys that are ready to pitch and can compete and we know what they're going to do in tough situations on the mound is the biggest part. For what we're looking for. And then while they're here, like I said, a lot of our bullpen stuff will finish with the last 10 pitches of us competing to one thing or another, where it's a certain pitch, a certain spot, and they're getting a score and they're getting going up on the board of who had the best strike percentage or whatever it is for that week, and just trying to keep the competition to attacking the strike zone, really.
Keeping it simple for the pitchers.
Yeah.
You talk about it with your hitting. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think guys mentally, that's a huge part of it. How much of that do you focus towards the mental part?
Yeah, I think I knew from catching, but one of the biggest things I think I learned in coaching pitchers the last couple of years is how sensitive to getting hit you can be. And there's not much like pitching in sports. You're the guy on the mound by yourself with the ball in your hand. Everybody's looking at you. there's not really many other things in sports you can say that. I mean, the quarterback a little bit in football, but even basketball, you can get the ball out of your hands quick. If you're playing shortstop, you can stand out there and not get the ball. If you're playing left field, you can really stand out there and not get the ball. But it takes some guts to be out on that mound by yourself with the ball in your hand, and especially when things aren't going your way, whether you're not getting calls, your arm's a little heavy today, made an error behind you, whatever it is. There's a lot of things that can distract you from that. And so the mental side of pitching is a big one for sure, of figuring out what you're good at, how you get hitters out, and just stay focused to that no matter what's going on around you.
You call pitches. Do you ever go over, I mean, obviously before a game you have a game plan with, you bring the catchers and the pitchers in, you have a game plan. What like your main focus, because your catcher's almost another coach out there for you, and you being an ex-catcher, what do you try to instill in your catchers? Yeah, no, that's a big one, and it's kind of a battle at our level and our game of developing a catcher in that way to call the game, because ultimately when you get in pro ball, you are doing it, but at our level, so much of it is the coach calling it, and just all I am is just a guy that just goes, sign from the coach, put the sign down, catch it, sign from the coach, put the sign down, catch it, and you're not really thinking. So I try to do the best I can, with our catchers, to be talking it through with them. Hey, here's why. Hey, what did you see? What are you feeling in this pitch with this guy? What are you feeling with this hitter? So they're thinking the game, and they're not just a relay of the signs, but they're actually, thinking it. And same thing with their pitchers too, because ultimately when they get into pro ball, it's their job and their career. You better have a reason why you're going to this pitch and using it in this time. So, I wish there was more. I wish we could play more games like they used to, more fall games, and just so you had more time to develop that and let guys do it and make mistakes and not have games be won or lost because of those mistakes. Which, at our level, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is the difference between winning and losing. Is there things within that we could do as high school coaches? Do you want to see more high school kids calling their games in the fall?
I mean, it doesn't hurt. I mean, it especially if they're being coached through it and talked about why. And but really, anytime you get an opportunity to play, when the game, you're not trying to win championships or for your high school team, you're just getting to play. Absolutely, let the catcher do that. So he's thinking the game, and sometimes sometimes maybe a guy, it might be too much. The game's going too fast, where sometimes it does need a step back and let the coach do it. But that's kind of goes back to, what kids are doing now and what they're doing to prepare. It's so much of it, like what I was saying with pitchers, it's just all about throwing the 1 or 2 innings to hit 90 on the gun, and maybe somebody will see it and maybe I'll get an offer instead of actually pitching to win. It's kind of the same thing of just playing the game to win. And that's why, for us, the high school season is really important for recruiting guys. But just in overall, guys getting the opportunity to just play the game, which I think is funny because a lot of the conversation is it's 2 year round and guys throw too much, but at the same time, I don't think guys just play the game like they used to, and that shows up in a lot of areas.
I think coaching, like you said, a lot of guys just go out and play the game, and I feel like sometimes some of the coaches are just doing that. They're just letting them play the game and not the fundamentals, like we talked about with a lot of Bennett and old school coaches. The fundamentals are almost out of it because there's so many players that they'd rather listen to their travel ball or whatnot, not their high school coaches. So you're getting players that are good baseball players, but that fundamental, those really matter when you get to the high level of college, and then obviously in professional baseball. I mean, baseball games are won and lost on fundamentals. They are in high school too. I mean, we harp on it. I think that just needs to be a little more paid attention to, is the fundamentals in fall and whatnot. But I think that is the big thing that would help out when they get to college, where they're more prepared.
Yeah,
because they're gonna. It's not just like you said. We're not just going out and taking ground balls. It's got to be done with a purpose. Everything you do is done with a purpose. Every ground ball, every ball hit off the tee, and that's got to be. You got to learn that in high school. You can't. It's hard to come in and learn that in college and be a dude right away.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's like on our end of the recruiting, it's easy to go out and hold a stopwatch and see a guy run a 6.7 and watch him have the best arm in the state across the infield. But what's he going to do on that ground ball with the game on the line in the last inning? And are his fundamentals going to break down in that sense? Is he ready for that type of situation? And that's the battle.
Yeah.
Anything else?
2020.
2020. I did come out to the last fall ball game. Like you guys said, gave some free baseball. That's always good. And I got to see Jay Carroll throw, who looked pretty good. But 2020, how are you guys feeling, and kind of get into what you guys have coming back, and then some of the new faces going into the season?
Coming off of last year with the really special team and older group last year, there's a lot of learning to do this fall, and some younger guys, some really talented guys we're excited about. But when you had McCarthy Tatum, who had been here for 5 years, and you had Zach Ashford leading off the last 3 years and one of the best pure hitters, he was getting on base twice every game, and Carter behind the plate, who caught every game for 3 years. When you lose guys like that, you kind of realize real quick just little things throughout the day you kind of take for granted. But we're really excited about the guys we have, and coming back, and this 2020 season will be a little bit different of a challenge with our conference. I don't know if you guys mentioned it with Joe, it's just that Boise coming in the conference, different conference schedule this year, and so less conference games, only playing everybody once, conference starting a little bit later, which has actually provided us a really tough non-conference schedule that we're going to get pushed early in the year. And so hopefully, by the time when that conference schedule rolls around, some of those guys that maybe aren't quite as experienced, they'll have been through some tough battles. And, we open with Irvine and University of Washington here the first 2 weekends. We go to Oklahoma State, go to Arizona State. So it'll be some good challenges. Hopefully, but the ultimate goal by the time we hit that conference schedule will be where we need to be.
Well, Ryan Overland, we appreciate it. We're glad we finally got a hold of you. We've been trying to.
You were supposed to be one of the early ones.
Yeah, we were supposed to get you on about episode in the.
It was like 5 or 6
or something.
It was before. I think it was before Ron's.
I just assumed Woody kept trying to cancel me.
We'll blame it on Woody.
Yeah, we'll blame it on Andy.
He's not here. Say whatever we want.
But we appreciate you coming on and helping out, give out this information, man, because this is good stuff. If you want to be a Bulldog, on Twitter we retweeted the winter camp. I'll do it for you. If you want to get seen and you want to be a Bulldog, go to the camp. All right. If you want to be a Bulldog and know what it's about, even see the coaches and how they coach, those are the best things to do. Go to the camp, be seen. And that's a great recruiting tool without even having to go play travel ball.
Yeah. And just to add to that, because that's probably close to half of our team has been at one of our camps, and just the opportunity to be on the field, not just for us, for every program, to be on the field with the coaches, to no matter what. There's been plenty of good players that have come to our camps that we didn't offer or get, that went to other schools and were good. But then at least at the end of the day, you were in front of those coaches. You were on that field, and it is a real opportunity to be on the field. And if you want to go to one of those schools, if you're on their field and in front of their coaches, then what better opportunity do you want?
Absolutely.
That's the best opportunity that can happen.
Yeah, no, and thanks for having me on here. You guys are doing a great job, and I hope people are listening. And this is anytime you guys want to sit and talk. I think that's, people always kind of talk about the things that kids and people do or don't do. One of the things is I don't think people sit around and talk baseball like they used to, and I know. So what you guys are doing here and getting information out to people from so many different, places and backgrounds. Like I said, I've enjoyed listening to what you guys are doing. So,
thanks, man. We appreciate the kind words and even you doing it. And I think we'll get Coach Bates on soon. And
yeah,
I think Coach Ware wanted to hop on one day, do some hitting stuff, and we'll keep it rolling, man. But seriously, thanks for taking time out of your day.
Absolutely, anytime.
So, guys, that's episode 29 of the Hit or Die podcast.
Hit or Die.